This portion of the CU podcast is brought to you by RexMD. Guys, going to the doctor to talk about your issues can be a problem. First, you got to book an appointment. Then you got to go and wait in the waiting room before you talk to the doctor. Then sometimes it can be a little bit embarrassing to talk about issues that could be a little bit personal. Well, here's the thing. Most men's health issues have really simple solutions, and RexMD is all about simple solutions.
RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver to your door. There's no office visits, no talking to a receptionist. It's super simple. Did you know that Viagra can cost around $90 a pill? But RexMD has generic Viagra for as low as just $2 a pill. Just fill out a quick medical questionnaire on their website, and a doctor will review your situation and prescribe you generic Viagra if appropriate. Your medication gets shipped right to your door with free 2-day shipping. It's fast, simple, and cheap, and you can access your U.S. licensed RexMD physician anytime you need afterwards. RexMD has helped over 300,000 guys get generic Viagra quickly and conveniently. RexMD just works, and it works the very first night.
Act now. Take advantage of their deal by heading to rexmd.com/CU podcast. Our exclusive deal will save you up to 95% off, which is as low as $2 per dose on generic Viagra instead of $90 plus on Viagra. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/CU podcast for up to 95% off plus a free gift. Your partner will thank you.
So, the Marvel Universe. It's in a little bit of trouble.
The cinematic universe, Ian? The MCU?
The cinematic universe. I haven't seen a Marvel movie since Doctor Strange
2, which was what, last summer of last year?
Yeah, I don't even remember. And I enjoyed it greatly. I thought it was one of the better Marvel movies.
It was May of last year? Wow, that was like a year and a half. Holy shit.
So when one hits, I mean, there are still some good movies that can come out of there, but the mainline Marvel stuff is, the stuff that really kind of counts for whatever phase they're on.
Phase 5? Are we in phase 5? I think
I know. I thought phase 4. I was trying to get into phase 5. I think that's the problem. We're kind of stuck at the end of phase 4 and we don't know where we're going to go because of the majors stuff.
I was going to say, but we have to get past phase 5 because then you get to the new Avengers movie. Like, what phase are we in?
I don't know. And I don't know that Marvel really knows what phase they're in either.
Gotcha.
So what has been bringing up, a lot of this, this talk is the fact that the Marvels tanked, absolutely tanked. It was initially supposed to.
We're in phase 5. We're in phase 5.
Huh?
We're in phase 5. Technically, sorry.
I don't even remember what phase 4 was then. Initial tracking, it was supposed to. They were thinking it would bring in 75 to 80 million, and then it shrank to 60 to 65 million. There's bad buzz. People couldn't do the promotion for it because of SAG-AFTRA, the strike. It ended up breaking the record for worst opening of any of the 33 Marvel movies. The previous was 55.4 million, which was the Incredible Hulk, and Ant-Man, which I actually liked, but I didn't see it until afterwards. I think a lot of people didn't see Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man, until after it left theaters. That was 57.2 million. This pulled in 47 million in its opening weekend. 47 million,
which was worse than the Flash movie, I believe, that came out.
Probably. I don't. That's real bad. And I mean, it's getting a lot of people to kind of look at it and say, well, what needs to be done? And, you read through these articles and so much of this stuff is just fucking common knowledge. Like, yes. And they act like they're having the thoughts of the days, but they're like, people might be hitting Marvel fatigue. No fucking shit. They're hitting Marvel fatigue. You've released 33 Marvel movies since 2008. 33.
Flash did 55 million and that looked fucking awful, by the way. And that did 55 million the first weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would watch the Marvels hand over. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, it won't be as bad.
Flash.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked when I saw the estimates. I'm like, no, it's going to be worse. There was zero buzz about this, and any interviews or late night appearances are not going to help.
Here, it was when was it? We're 5 years out of Captain Marvel. That was almost 5 years ago that came out. 2019.
That came out. A strange movie too, because it took place in the past.
Yeah, March 8th. That's almost 5 years ago that came out, and that was sort of like, well, this is interesting. It was the first, female starring Marvel movie, and we were in the middle of the build up to freaking Endgame. So it was like, wow, you have to see this. Remember, it was so hot back then. And remember that because of that success, they were going to put her into Endgame. I read originally, but it did so well. It's like, we got to get her in there. The end of Endgame, I have huge problems with. It seems slapdash. I'm not satisfied with it. Anyway, Infinity War is
much bad. It's very bad.
Infinity War is
I look back on it, and it was a wholly unsatisfying end to that whole scenario. But I still don't regret my time. And I think
I don't either.
But I think that the problem that they're having now is, I mean, yes, it's Marvel exhaustion, which ties into what I'm going to say, and I've said it before. It's banking on properties that don't have. They blew their load in the first three phases. They pulled out all these. Iron Man wasn't always big, but they used all of these big names. They used all of their A-listers, and now they're left with smaller characters, which can be interesting. It's what I want to see, but they don't. It does not feel like there is any cohesive vision like there was in the first three in the lead up to Endgame. And even in the best of times, even with the best movies that they could put out since 2019, they could be firing on all cylinders. I think one of the problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is it's a big ask to ask people to keep up on movies the way they did during the first three phases. It is one of those things that I feel like captures an audience and captures I don't know. I mean, it's almost like a cultural thing. Everyone was watching them. You didn't know anyone who didn't go see them.
It was fresh. There was never something like that before.
And personally, and I said this all the way back then, I tapped out. Like, that was fun, but I don't need to do this again. I don't need to make sure I'm seeing 3 movies a year and trying to keep up on all this shit. I just don't need to.
Well, here's the thing. They dug their own grave.
They're doing what Star Wars did. They just, I mean, it's overexposure. When they jumped into streaming the TV shows, I kind of knew that was it. They were just going to be spreading themselves too thin. That's
part of it. Streaming has ruined entertainment in general. That's a whole other conversation. It's diluted it, made it unimportant. No one cares. It's totally devalued entertainment, was one of the reasons why they had these strikes. They dug their own grave, though, because they had this. From what I read, it didn't start as a 10-year plan, but became a 10-year plan.
Yes.
Which we're going to follow through with Thanos, a big thing. That's great, but that's not how comic books works. And that's not how the comic book characters work. These characters exist for decades and decades. You can't just get this. And I said this years ago. You can't just get rid of the big characters that we are attached to and think that we're not going to care. You can't get rid of Steve Rogers and Iron Man and think that it's going to be business as usual and just replace them with other characters. That's not how comic books works. That's not how anything works.
Likewise, I would say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole big project, 10 years, is not how comics work.
Sure.
Comics have events.
Yes.
Comics share worlds when it's convenient, but comics also find a way to just break what's going on, take your same character and be like, that wasn't going so great, so we're going to put him in a new story.
Sure.
We can have a character being written by multiple people. There can be different runs. X-Men does it. Batman does it. In DC, to their credit, is slowly starting to realize that. What with the Batman not being their main Batman movie, apparently, like there's going to be another Batman, but they will still do another The Batman. They can have multiple takes on a character, and not everything needs to be connected. Again, It worked once, but they kind of took the summer event thing that happens in comics, and they blew it out to like a 10-year thing.
Yeah. which worked fine. But now it's like, well, now how do you ever get back that high? You're never going to reach that height ever again.
Well, no, you can't.
Ever.
And it also shows the cracks in doing it. And
Yeah.
it shows how much of it, especially if there was no 10-year plan, which I believe, it shows just how much of it was lightning in a bottle and,
Sure.
and striking while the iron was hot. And that's what I read through these articles. And it just, it makes me want to smash my head against a rock, because people who make money are not necessarily smart people. They're all talking about how they couldn't have seen this coming. And it's like, no, you clearly
no.
couldn't have seen
We
this
literally
coming.
talked about this stuff years ago. We talked about this is going to be bad.
Everyone did.
yeah.
But I mean, it's all just fucking run the money through the juicer until
Sure.
there's nothing left to do.
And that was before Disney Plus.
Yes.
We're like, well, what happens when you have your B-listers and C-listers come along? So it's not the fact also that you have B-listers and C-listers. It's how you're introducing them. So this Marvel's movie comes out, and 2 of the 3 characters I would only know if I was watching their shows on Disney Plus. So like, if I'm a casual person, this is advertised to me. I'm like, who the hell are these other 2 people? I have no idea who they are.
Monica Rambeau introduced in...
Yeah, when she was 9, she was in.
Right. Yeah.
It was her mom in the movie.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So
Her
I had
mom.
to have
I was
seen-
like, it was her daughter. I'm like, no, that's the other way around.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
So you had to have seen WandaVision and see her introduced in that. And then the Marvel, the Miss Marvel show, you'd have to see that. Not only that, seen the characters and then like them enough to then go see the movie. That's a big ask for a lot of people. A big ask to see that.
Well, my
to do
thing
that.
is like, I love Monica Rambeau, but I don't love her for this role. So,
Sure.
I mean, my love of her comes from different comics. It comes from Next Wave, Agents of Hate, and stuff like that. Like, this is a character that I would be excited to see on the big screen.
Doing
but
something else.
But they're putting, it's kind of strange.
It's just mishmash. Oh, they have Marvel in the name, and she was one of the, I know she was the Captain Marvel in the 80s, I remember, during like Secret Wars. That's the only thing I know about her. She was like she was a replacement Captain Marvel. That's all I know. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, correct.
That's the only thing I know her from. I'm like, oh, this must be the same Captain Marvel from back then. The point is this. You have to give the audience this is so stupid. It's common sense. I feel like getting in the room with them and be like, you have to give the people a reason to get behind these characters and see them in the movie theater. You have to divorce yourself from this of people being, everyone's involved in the whole ecosystem where we're going to make hundreds of millions because everyone's watching the Disney Plus shows. That's not happening. That's not how this works.
Well, and that's when I go back to saying that people have tapped out. That's the issue. So many of those movies in the original few years, the original phases would have done far less numbers if we weren't all caught up in the hype of making sure we see everything so that we know what's going on.
And that was only 2 movies a year for the first like 7-8 years. It's 2 movies. And then it went to 3. That's fine. But now when it's 3 movies or maybe 4, and now I got to watch 3 Disney Plus shows on top, I'm done. Because now I may not like all of them.
When I think of like Iron Man 3 or I mean, and I liked the original Captain Marvel, but the original Captain Marvel, these are movies that I think at this point people were going to because it was part of the experience, not because they saw a trailer for an Iron Man 3 movie and said, that looks like the type of movie I'd go see.
Well, but
Iron Man watching it because it was the next.
Iron Man 3 was established at that point as a brand. That was after Avengers. So like,
I loved Iron Man.
I liked it a lot. And it was a one-off. It had no real connection to anything else. It was a palate cleanser.
So maybe that wasn't the best one to use, but that goes back to what I was saying previously. You can make these movies as one-offs. You don't have to find a way to tie them to something every single time.
Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie, by the way.
It is a Christmas
like all
movie.
Shane Black's movies.
It's a road trip. It's a road trip holiday movie is what it is, with a really bad, shitty CG ending, but it's a fun movie.
Shane Black likes writing Christmas movies. Like, I mean, go back to Lethal Weapon was during Christmas too. Just because Christmas is you need more Christmas movies. That's all. Anyway. And also you got to go see. Oh God. Oh, he did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You've seen that? That's excellent. Robert Downey Jr. And then
I have not seen that.
You never saw Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? Oh, it's great.
No, I know I need to, but I've never seen it.
And then, which they're supposed to do a sequel to it. One of the best movies I've seen in the past 10 years, The Nice Guys. That was already 7 years ago. Have you seen The Nice Guys?
I've never seen that, but I heard it was great.
It was excellent. And they're talking about doing another one. Yeah, go see those. The same sort of,
I did hear that,
Buddy-
because that's what put it in my mind again, like a couple of weeks ago, as someone was talking about it. I was like, I never watched that.
Oh, Nice Guys is like one of those movies you can probably watch like every other week and it wouldn't get old.
Just like one of those ones that would make good background noise.
Yeah, because the characters and the writing's so good, and the acting. So anyway, so how do you fix all this? I don't know if you can. Plus we're dealing with all the Jonathan Majors legal stuff, which we don't know where we're going with there. We have no idea where that's going to go. But that's your big villain. So it's like supposedly the end of this Loki season. Spoilers. They give themselves an out if they were going to change the main villain. So it's like, oh boy, what do we do?
They got to give themselves an out, and they need to get back on a plan. And I mean, DC kept saying for years and years, we're going to get back on a plan. We're going to get back on a plan. But as DC has shown, it's not that easy to get back on a plan and stay on a plan with this many moving parts. Once again, Marvel caught lightning in a bottle, and all the pieces were there at the right time in the right place. But they're proving that, maybe DC and Warner Brothers weren't just idiots. They were. I mean, no one needed Zack Snyder at the helm. But maybe it's just really difficult to do this sort of thing.
Sure, because it only happened once successfully. It's only happened once.
Cinematic universes did not exist before this. They were just movies with what was called sequels. That's how you built that's how you built the Aliens cinematic universe. You made multiple Aliens movies. That's totally different.
And then did a couple of bad AVP movies. You did a few of those.
First one was okay. The second one I still haven't actually seen.
That looks terrible. Remember, there's an Aquaman movie coming out next. I thought, oh my god, that's finally coming out. Holy shit!
What? I wanted to see the original Aquaman because I like.
I saw it in theaters,
and I like Jason Momoa. Yes, but you and every other person told me it was long and boring, and that was the death knell. If everyone had told me it was great or good, I would have gone to see it. But if everyone had told me it was really bad for any reason other than it being boring and long, I probably would have seen it. I have no desire to sit down and watch a long, boring movie.
But I do like Patrick Wilson. He was great in it as the villain. Patrick Wilson's
Black
great.
Manta?
What?
Was he Black Manta?
No. He was the Patrick Wilson was his brother or the vying for the throne underwater.
Oh, okay. I know Black Manta's in this new one.
Oh, he was in the first one too.
Oh, okay.
Smaller role.
I don't know who these people are.
I don't remember anything about the movie. You know Patrick Wilson?
No, I don't know.
Patrick Wilson's in all those horror movies. He's like one of the couples that were based on the real life sham couple. And he was in Watchmen. He was Night Owl in Watchmen.
I never saw the Watchmen.
Patrick Wilson's in a lot of things. He's a great actor. And he's Patrick, so he's cute, like all his Patricks. Yeah, he's good. He's great.
Yeah, I've seen. I've definitely seen him in things, but what the fuck have I seen him in?
He's in a lot of like smaller.
He's
medium
in Conjuring and stuff.
Yeah, the Conjuring. He's the Mr. Conjuring. He's in all those for the most part.
Oh, okay.
That's a cinematic universe. Actually, that's succeeded.
And I gotta watch those. Annabelle. There's Annabelle cinematic.
There's universe. Like 12 movies in that cinematic universe. Believe it or not.
No, I know. I'm well aware.
So we are. So sorry to all the Conjuring fans out there. I've only seen a couple of movies and they're pretty good. But there's like offshoots from that universe.
Yeah, for the Nun. I've seen like one of the Nun movies. I think I saw the Nun Part 2.
And there's prequels and stuff. There's short film. Like don't get on me, Conjuring fans in the comments. That's a real cinematic universe. That's like the other one.
I think that's actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, but they're also like small budget, $20 million movies that you can take a risk with that.
Right, and again, not as many moving parts with something that's small and that comparatively low risk.
Yes, it's like, oh, that horror object, that doll. Here's a movie about how that doll came to be haunted. It's like, okay, it's simple and stupid, but it's a horror movie. Like that's how it works. Right. Anyway, so this is what I would do. I would go the James Bond route. Treat it like comics. Comics every 5 years. Hey, why does Spider-Man look different? Well, you got a new artist. Do that with the actors. You got to recast. I'm sorry. We got to get the A-listers back at some point. That's just the way it works. You need the A-listers.
Well,
that's it.
Mean, the other thing for me is I don't know that that's going to work.
What else are you going to try? I mean,
they can try, but I don't know that it's going to work. Not so soon. And the thing is I don't think anyone imagined. Well, we could see it coming, but I don't think Marvel imagined that they would be in this bad amount shape. Of trouble this soon. you can't just bring back the original actors right now because they don't really have any interest.
That's in the Variety article. That was an option they floated. Let's get the original Avengers back.
I mean, that's going to be really difficult. I mean, those people are getting older, and I think they've got some years left in them, but like Downey Jr. doesn't want to fucking do it anymore.
Chris Evans doesn't want to do it.
Right. I mean, they don't want to do it. And so if you don't get them back, it's way, way too soon to replace the original actors visually.
That's saying.
It's just not going to work.
They did it for James Bond for 50 years. They swap out the actor and you continue on.
Yeah, but James, I mean, that became, again, over time.
Sure, but
over a greater period of time. I'm not saying they can't.
Every 10 years is a new James Bond by average. Every 10 years. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. You have to do that.
Yeah, but we're not there with this sort of thing yet, and I don't think it fits as
Is it
well
too complex because it's a whole universe?
Bond.
Maybe it's too complex as a whole universe, not one character. Maybe that's
right. So, you know, I think it works when, at least mentally for me, it works. Like, okay, you went from the original Spider-Man movies, the Raimi movies, right?
Sure.
And then you got the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and those were completely different. And, you know, it had been a decent amount of time between the last movies that, you know, having a new actor felt right. But yes, I think part of it is because it's in the same universe and you're going to have these people. Basically, you'd have to recast everything for me to look at it. It would be way too weird to have a new Captain America interacting with, say, the Captain Marvel that he had worked with.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think that's one of the reasons why they're so desperate to build this multiverse shit. The past 3 years, 4 years have been wasted on this multiverse shit. That's been Multitude of Madness, Spider-Man No Way Home, Loki season 1 and 2, WandaVision. They're throwing everything at the multiverse. I'm sure it's also in the new Marvels movie at some point. Obviously, Quantumania. They're banking on the multiverse in order to reset this in like 2 years. That's what they're doing. They should have just really got in Fantastic Four and X-Men lickety fucking split before this whole multiverse. They should just figure that out. One movie, multiverse, we're bringing shit in. That could have solved a lot of these problems. That could have solved a lot of it with X-Men and Fantastic Four, and then you're off and running, and that buys you time with all the other problems.
And I think COVID definitely has something to do with it too, because if that hadn't happened, I think we would be looking at Marvel. I think we'd be looking at X-Men and Avengers movies early next year. I think the pacing was totally to kind of have an interim period. I think the initial idea was to have Endgame in 2019, have an interim period of movies that kind of set up a transition that would be over by 2023 or 2024 at the latest, and then start on your next tent poles. And that has not happened.
Well, we're 5 years from Infinity War, almost we're 4.5 years from Endgame, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So I think originally they probably wanted to have Avengers by now. Like that's probably what they wanted.
Like I'm saying at the latest, early 2024 would have been Avengers.
And now it's going to be like mid 25 probably. Is what it's going to be. So we'll see. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but again, that was disconnected from everything else. That was his own thing.
And that's probably why it worked. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's fantastic.
And now it's like, okay, we have all these B and C listers, honestly. Right. Like Iron Man was a B lister. You know, some of these characters are C listers that they're trying to push. And it's like, it's not going to work. I go back to like, how do you introduce these characters? Look at the comics. There was an entire comic that I used to love seeing the cheap issues of called Marvel Team Up. And the entire run was Spider-Man teaming up with a lesser known hero every fucking issue for the most part. In order to push them up. Like that's one of the ways you do this, is that you have to pair them with a bigger hero somehow. But that's tough to do because this is not comics, it's movies, obviously. It's tougher to do that and shows. But just pushing a new hero just because it's an MCU doesn't mean they're going to be successful. We're not at that point anymore. There's going to be winners and losers. We've seen enough of this. We have fatigue. Or maybe we're just superhero fatigued. Yeah. Oppenheimer made almost $1 billion. Barbie did $1 billion. Maybe we grew up and we want movies that aren't just people bashing things with superpowers. That's part of it too. It can happen.